Okay, TiddlyWiki on Fission. Fantastic. I'm going to turn off this slide because we don't need to look at it. We've got a blog post up about this. We've got some tweets about it on the Fission account. And there's a dedicated category in the forum to continue discussion around this. I said hello on the TiddlyWiki mailing list, so I'll be monitoring that as well. So I will bring Jeremy up on stage, as it were. And we had Jeremy actually, I guess I wrote a blog post last May about TiddlyWiki. It's something I've been using for a long time, and it's sort of serverless in the same way that Fission is sort of serverless. And then we had Jeremy on for a Thursday chat in October. And then finally, I guess it's been 2 weeks now. Jeremy's been wrapping his head around web native and Fission and working on bringing TiddlyWiki to Fission. So Jeremy, do you want to maybe just introduce yourself and TiddlyWiki and your thoughts so far? Muted. Got it.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you, everybody else as well. Yes, so let me show you. TiddlyWiki, as Boris says, is a serverless application in the painfully literal sense that actually possibly isn't that helpful, that it doesn't use a server at all. And that also makes it server agnostic in that it makes it much easier to plug into an arbitrary server that you have lying around because it doesn't have any dependency on the server. So normally, if people want to use TiddlyWiki, they would come to tiddlywiki.com, maybe download it themselves first, but you can just do it like this, where instead of typing, I'll draw something. And now to save changes, I click this button, and then the browser downloads a new copy of the HTML file that incorporates my latest change. So that's obviously a nightmare.
Did you want to share your screen?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I do that every time, obviously, as well as being on mute every time. Forgive me. Let me re-prepare that demo. Forgive me. Okay, so this is TiddlyWiki, and I was what you couldn't see me doing was I created a new item, and I chose to create an image item. Click done, and now to save changes, because this is a single HTML file, I click the save button, and the browser downloads a fresh version of the file that incorporates my change. And so the next time I make a change, I do the same thing, press save, and here's my latest change. So that's a very tedious process, but it demonstrates the remarkable quality of TiddlyWiki, that the entire application, including in this case a graphics editor, is all built into a single HTML file. And it's the thing that made it very easy so far to integrate with Fission. And I should caution that this is very early days. We're at the point where programmers have a kind of happiness curve when they're working on projects where it's all a bit baffling. And then you suddenly get things to work and you think, oh, it's nearly done. And then there's all the little niggly stuff. And I'm at that very early stage of excitement where we've got it working end to end, but in all kinds of ways, both internally and externally, it's a bit of a mess, but still. So this, you've got to imagine it is running at tiddlywiki.fission.app. I think that's right, isn't it, Boris? And I've already authorized with it, and so that's why it knows my username. We should be able to, at this point, choose which of my wikis I want to edit. So TiddlyWiki has a desktop application called Tiddly Desktop that has the same kind of user interface we're thinking of, where you register a wiki and then you can click to open it, work on the wiki and make changes. But at the moment, all we've got is a brutal button. And if I look at the source code of the button, you can see the path of the document that I'm editing is actually hard coded. So that's it's very early days. But if I click the button and open the link, it now opens a TiddlyWiki document that's stored on my Fission drive. And I can show you that if I, so this is the web-based interface to my Fission drive. I can choose link to file and get a public link to that version of that file, which is the version of that we've just been looking at. So,
and what we're doing there as well, if you can you actually bring that page back up again, that same link? So if we look at
that one?
Yeah, no, the TiddlyWiki on Fission, the IPFS gateway link there. Next one. Farthest right. Oh, farthest right.
Oh, right, that one. Yeah, sorry.
So we just went over talking about how this is a peer-to-peer system. So this is an example of this particular version of this TiddlyWiki is available public on this global network, right? This is a public file and it can be served up anywhere. So it can be locally on Jeremy's machine, but it also is available everywhere with that unique path. So that's one of the really interesting things. A server going down in the IPFS network means that this still stays up, and as long as one person at least is connected to the network, it will always remain available, which is a pretty cool feature.
Indeed so, indeed so. And I may say, Boris got through the initial introduction to Fission without mentioning IPFS, but I kind of came at it from the other side. I've been interested in IPFS for years, but have struggled to get other people to adopt it, I think it'd be fair to say, because of the requirement to use a custom browser and so on. And Fission is really giving us all of the things that were exciting about IPFS, because it's still IPFS, but making them much more accessible. But I'm already showing something deeply confusing here. This is a path into Fission's IPFS storage to my public file. And if I try and make a change here, just to emphasize, it's a, where is it? If I try and make a change here, like adding a new tiddler, when I save changes, it'll fail to save the changes. So now if I refresh, I don't see those changes. That's because it's a static read-only view. It's just TiddlyWiki is confusing you by presenting its editing user interface, even though it's non-functional. But this view, where I'm looking at the same file through the app, has the editing capability. So I can say hello to people, and I can draw a smiling face on that. Okay, that's my like a pumpkin. And now you can see it's been merrily telling us that it's saving in the background. And we can, in DevTools, we'd see lots of network traffic as, so it's not really uploading, it's doing this complicated syncing process. So I'll now close this tab and reopen it, and you can see that it includes my face.
Boom.
So that's the normal, nobody really uses that user experience where you save a file each time you save changes in TiddlyWiki. It's a kind of fallback position. So this is the normal way to use TiddlyWiki, where it just behaves like any other web application. But of course, here I've got the capability to show a public version. I was just going to, for the Cody people, just going to very quickly show the almost embarrassingly simple guts of the thing, which is code to read the file from web native. So we call fs read and stick it in an iframe. And the code to save, similarly, we do an fs write, and then the only unexpected thing is this publish call that's necessary when you've finished a whole bunch of changes to dispatch them into the ether. So really, the API was remarkably easy to get my head around. This is, for me, quite an interesting, a lot of the work I do ends up being a kind of symphony of iframes, and that's rather the situation here. If we look at the editor, you can see right up at the top, there's an iframe there that contains the TiddlyWiki document. And right down here, there's an iframe that does magic stuff to Fission. So that's really why the HTML page is so trivial. It's hosting one iframe containing the TiddlyWiki, and it's just scurrying the traffic backwards and forwards to this other iframe containing Fission. And the beauty of JavaScript and browsers now is that these APIs are really smooth. You wouldn't know that you weren't talking to a normal JavaScript API.
Awesome.
I think that's my demo done, but I'm very happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so basically what will the plan going forward is, as Jeremy said, we will be, we're still working on the source code and it's not public yet, but as we get it cleaned up and working, we will publish the GitHub source. We welcome anyone who's working in TiddlyWiki land. You don't need to be a super dev expert. If you have an interesting addition or kind of customized TiddlyWiki that you'd like to share, we'd love to basically have a number of different example templates that people can choose from in the TiddlyWiki on Fission app. And you know, Jeremy and I have talked more about basically working very closely with the community on this to expand capabilities and do more with it. We'll invite people to kind of try it out, ask for features, and we can see which of them we can get in, and then really develop it as a community over time. So what Fission's goal here is that we want to showcase the kinds of things that you can do with sort of user-owned apps. I had one question on Twitter where someone said, oh, I keep my like second brain TiddlyWiki, I keep it private. Will that work on Fission? Yes, absolutely. In fact, the private version, you've got a fully encrypted file system. So you're not writing into a public index.html. It's all actually inside your own file system that you're carrying around with you. So that use case is actually an easier use case in many ways than the public one. And I'd love to get to a point, and we'll talk about this in the forum. We welcome feature requests. I'd love to get it where I can run a private TiddlyWiki where I can selectively publish tiddlers or portions of something like that. And that's exactly what Fission is well built for. And as well, for those of you who are consultants or working on using TiddlyWiki powered things, we'd love to basically help use the Fission platform so that you can make 100 or 1,000 instances of a customized TiddlyWiki to a particular audience without having to build all this server infrastructure that we just gave you the view on. Any questions on that we can help answer? Fission, TiddlyWiki, IPFS, anything? All right. I have a few more things. We've just hit an hour, so I like to keep you not too much longer. So stay tuned in the forum if you want to get involved, and when we publish the GitHub repo as well. If you're more of a developer bent, we welcome people to work on that as well.